All right, guys, let's take a quick look at all of our kit supplies so we can start working on this model wall project. I'm going to start by just unloading the biggest things out of the kit, which are the wall assembly pieces. These are our studs, and we have a large 2x6 scaled size, and then we have a bunch of these small 2x4 pieces. So when I refer to 2x4s, you're going to want some of these smaller pieces, and when we refer to the 2x6, you're going to want these larger pieces here. There's fewer of these larger pieces. Next up in our kit, we start pulling stuff out here. We have a piece of CDX plywood. You should have a piece of 4-inch by 12-inch, half-inch thick plywood. CDX means that you have a C grade on one face, you have a D grade on the other, and then the X is exterior. Usually that means you're going to see a dark glue line in between all the layers. And that dark glue line is typically there because it usually has some sort of formaldehydes and other chemicals to it that will resist moisture and exterior outdoor weather issues. And so that's what makes this a good exterior plywood. Some of the new stuff doesn't have formaldehyde in it anymore, which is bad for us, but you still have a dark glue line. If it's a light white colored glue line, it's probably interior plywood, not good for building houses. Maybe just cabinets. Next, we have in our kits, we should have a little bit of styrofoam to work with. That way we can put a little bit of styrofoam in the wall insulation later. We're going to have a piece of roofing felt. This is black roofing felt, tar paper, and this is the thinner of the variations of it. It usually comes in a 15-pound roofing felt and a 30-pound roofing felt. And the 30-pound is 30 pounds and 100 square feet. When we measure anything on a roof, we measure it in squares. And when we say per square, we mean 100 square feet of area. That way we can calculate the weight. So this is 15-pound felt. We also have a piece of cardboard. This cardboard is actually going to simulate plywood for us in our scaled model. We're going to need to use it to cut it up and put it between various pieces like our headers later and on some of the exterior walls to give us rigidity for the model. You're going to have a bottle of Elmer's glue. Elmer's glue is a classic glue bottle that is safe, non-toxic. You may be using other wood glues if you're doing this in my shop, but if you're doing this at home, you're going to be using Elmer's glue. Pay attention to the cleanup right here. It says right here on the back, if you get it on anything, use a damp cloth before the glue dries to wash it up, soak it up, and you'll be fine, okay? You should have a bunch of these tongue depressors in there. We're going to use these for siding later. If we were to attach this to the structure here, after we cut off the rounded corners, then we could simulate what would be like a lap siding. So there's going to be a bunch of these tongue depressors inside your model. You should have a little block that looks like this, and this is your miter block. So you're basically going to be using this to take and put a piece of wood in it, and then use this with a saw to cut the wood to length, help keep everything nice and square. Or if we had to cut 45s, we could do it on this side, and it would help us match our 45-degree angles. Okay. Next, we have a small piece of sandpaper. The sandpaper is going to be rough on one side, and it's going to be smooth on the other. This one has a cloth back to it, and it might have a number on the back side. This particular sheet, I can't quite read the number that was here, but this is a pretty coarse grit, okay, which is good. It's going to work a little faster for us that way. Let's see if I have another sheet here. This one looks like has an 80 on it, which means it's an 80 grit. And the way that the sandpapers are working, remember that grit works by basically determining how many particles, these little grits here, the rough surfaces, how many of these particles can you fit in a square inch of area. So if you can fit only 80 particles, the particles are pretty big and they're going to be pretty rough. If you can fit 1,000 of them, then they're going to be really small and it's going to be really smooth. That's the way we measure paper, by the number size or particulate size. You will also have a single piece of framing material that's about this big. This is a different type of wood. This is actually probably made of a hardwood. In this case, mine here is made of maple. And this is going to be for the ridge beam that goes right there in the middle of the roof later. We only have one small piece of it, so we'll save that for later. In your kits, you should also have a couple of clamps. You're going to need these to assist you in gluing things together occasionally from time to time as we build this project. You will also have a couple of smaller popsicles. They may be different colors. Let's see. I've got a couple different kits that I'm playing with here. So, it doesn't really matter what color they are, but you'll have two of these little popsicles to help space stuff and do various tasks. And then last, your kit may have included these little hardware pieces. These are for a different activity we're going to do later. Go ahead and just set those to the side if you got them. And then we have this bag. Your kits will be in a bag of some sort. If they're in a bag like this and you want to use this as the surface on your table for gluing some things up, just make sure that you don't scratch your table with this little metal clip here, that this is in the top side, or you can cut this off or rip it out, okay? Other than that, the bag is here to keep everything together. So that's video one. Just make sure you got all the supplies that you need in order to do this. Oh, and you're going to need to have your little saw. You guys have a little hacksaw. I'm actually going to be using my saw for this demonstration, which is a Japanese handsaw. This is my preferred saw. If you have your own handsaw at home, you can use it. The kits did come with a little, it's a hacksaw blade with a handle put on it or taped on it. And you guys can use those little saw blades as well for the sake of this activity. But I'm going to be demonstrating with this particular saw here. Also, if you have to your disposal some rubber bands, some big rubber bands, maybe like the ones that the newspaper comes with or something, you'll find that these are going to be kind of helpful for you gluing stuff up. I didn't add rubber bands to the kit. Most people have them. You might need some tape. I have some Scotch tape here, which I might find useful. They may or may not be available to you guys, so you don't have to use it. You should also have safety glasses. These are a pair of ANSI Z87 safety glasses, and you'll want to make sure that you have these with you and on while you're working at all times. You're going to need a sharp pencil to do this activity. You will need your ruler, and you're going to need this blueprint that hopefully you did in a previous activity. All right?